Lowe, I'm going to start with you. The finals are behind us. If I said these 2024 Celtics are the most dominant Celtic team ever, would that be fact or fiction?
Why you got to do this to me? Why you got to make me say one negative thing about this dominant championship team? Because this, unfortunately, is fiction. I'm old enough to remember the 1986 Celtics, who had the same dominant statistical profile, 65 wins, had to go through Showtime and the Rockets and all that. It's still those dudes in 86, but this team's pretty damn good.
Fair enough. Then UT, how about UD? If I said to you, this Celtics championship could be the beginning of a dynasty, is that fact or fiction?
I got to go with fiction. I got to go with fiction. I mean, they have the pieces. You have a huge, strong core. You have Tatum. You have Brown. You have unbelievable role players. You have a coach that's coming to his own. In his second year, was able to get a championship. One of the youngest coaches since Bill Russell. So they have the pieces, but the East was weak. A lot of people were banged up, a lot of injuries, and you got to win more than one to be talking dynasty.
Fair enough. We'll talk more about that one in a minute. But finally, Zach, I'll come back to you. This one's an interesting one. If someone said Jayson Tatum has silenced his critics, is that fact or fiction?
It's fact, and I don't care that he didn't win Finals MVP because he's a champion, and he showed up huge in the last game, the clinching game, the toughest one to get, 31 points, 11 assists, maybe the best passing game in his career. It's a fact, but I will also ask, who are the critics? He's made first-team All-NBA 3 years in a row. I guess the critics would say he hasn't won an MVP or finished in the top 3 of an MVP, but I think everyone agrees Jayson Tatum's pretty damn good.
Let's stay in this. Cindy, let's not go. Come out to everybody. Yes, we were going to play some sound. I want to get to this because I was trying to sort of tiptoe towards this yesterday. And Jayson Tatum, there was a tweet yesterday that went out that said that he was the 6th player since 1980 to win a title, leading their team in points, rebounds, and assists in the playoffs. Here it is. And he responded by saying, what they going to say now? And I understand that's become sort of the catchphrase of NBA champions. The Warriors were saying that a couple of years ago. But I sort of lean towards you. Criticism is a really strong word to describe the way Jayson Tatum has been covered over the years. I guess there have been some questions about exactly how to quantify his greatness, and I wanted my friend Dominique Foxworth to jump in on this as well. But pick up that thought. Do you feel as though he has been unfairly characterized or criticized during his career?
So I do think there is some merit to that because there was a lot of nitpicking of him, particularly after the 2022 finals against the Warriors, where he was not good enough and the Celtics weren't good enough. He was also 24 years old when they were in the 2022 finals. And that carried over into this season. And I kept saying this. Number one, first-team All-NBA. Number two, he bizarrely did not get enough credit for 2 of the greatest elimination games in Boston Celtics history. And when you say in Boston Celtics history, that means something. Milwaukee Game 6 2 years ago, backs against the wall, down 3-2. He puts in 46 on the road on 17 of 32. And Game 7 last year, it's a blowout, so people wipe it away. You score 51 points in a Game 7, you should earn yourself a year of people not being able to say, what about a big game? What about big games? That's as big as it gets.
What do you think of it? Do you feel, you've been in the league, you've watched his career come along, how do you view the way he's been viewed?
I don't think it's unfair criticism. I think it's unfair expectation. I think coming out of Duke, the number 3 pick, we understand the history of Duke playing for Coach K, being a number 3 pick. Then you walk into the Boston Celtics organization who's known for winning, has championship habits, has championship expectations. You're 6'10", you have everything God can give you. 6'10", 220, you can shoot, you can score from all 3 levels. You can defend if you have to. You can rebound, which you showed in the playoffs and led them in rebounding. So you have all these utensils, you have all these skills, and these are things that we're looking at and we're saying, we want it right away, we want it now. But the expectation was too high for Jayson Tatum.
Dominique, I was interested in your perspective on this because you and I have talked a lot on this show, and I hear you doing it on your show as well, about the general tenor of media criticism, of social media criticism, and all of that. So when you hear Jayson Tatum say, yeah, what are they going to say about me now? What thoughts go through your mind?
I mean, I think it's kind of funny because Steph said it. It was obviously in response to people saying that he hasn't won the Finals MVP. And I think Zach is speaking of a world that he wants to create, but not the world that actually exists, because I know exactly what they're going to say now. They're going to say that you haven't won the league MVP, you haven't won the finals MVP. I understand you can say that's not fair, but it's going to happen. And with great players like Jayson Tatum, we have to create storylines and we have to create a mountain for them to climb. He's climbed the most recent mountain, but it's obvious what we're going to say. We are going to be waiting for him to be that number one player that we always kind of expect our stars on teams to become. And it's fair to say that he hasn't been that. He hasn't needed to be that in this championship run, but he has not been that, and that is going to be the prevailing storyline for him for the rest of his career, just like it was for Steph, until he actually goes out and wins those Bill Russell trophies and the Larry Bird trophy and the league MVP trophy.
What do you think?
I mean, if the only standard that we have is you have to be the best player in the league, then what are we really even doing? That photo, that video, he's got the championship trophy. In the past, once you won that, you were immune for a long time from criticism. That's the whole thing. Was he finals MVP? No, he got 4 votes neck and neck. I don't care. He's the best player on a team that just won the championship. Move on.
To whom much is given, much is required. And I think that's just the fight, the battle that Jayson Tatum is going to face his entire career. He has silenced them now, but they'll be back. Trust me, they will be back. They will be back next year and the year after. They're going to expect these guys to continue to do. We're talking dynasty. We're having these conversations now. So the expectation is we're going to expect these guys to be back there again next year. And to do it, he's got to be better. Because we understand that wasn't the best version of Jayson Tatum. He can be better.
And that's fair. And look, if they go back to the finals next year and he has a finals like Kyrie just had in the finals, he's going to get criticized. And that's fair. Criticize him on the merits of his play. Don't criticize him on what's in his soul and his guts and his ability to win big games, because he's proven that already.
All right, let me leave that there for the moment. But this is a good discussion. I can see Neek's face. I feel similarly about where this could go. We'll have more of it as we go. But then there's the other side of this thing. There's